War of the Worlds 2025 has been classified by the internet as one of the worst movies not just of the year, but of all time. This adaptation stars Ice Cube as our lead role. He's a pretty well-known rapper and actor who's been in an insane amount of movies and TV shows over the past 30 years.
Hold the fort. He hated Jews.
He also voices Bowman in Black Ops 1.
Communist piece of shit.
The movie released on Amazon Prime and is basically just a big advertisement for Jeff Bezos. While at the same time, one of the producers claims Amazon had no creative input on the film at all, and claims they weren't paid a penny for any Amazon product placement.
You are making $500,000 and you were only going to pay me 30?
You're getting 30 grand? I'm getting 1,000.
You guys are getting paid?
Before we get into the newest version of this story, we need to go over its history a bit. And if you want to go right into the review, you can find the chapter marker for it down below. Though I implore you to just hear me out. War of the Worlds has been one of the most influential pieces of fiction of the last 150 years, pretty much inventing the alien invasion genre. Written by H.G. Wells, who himself is considered one of the fathers of science fiction. The story tells of an invasion by Martian creatures with vastly superior technology compared to what humans had at the end of the 19th century. The narrator describes the initial encounter with a cylinder falling from the sky in the outskirts of London, the squid-like creatures that eventually make their way out of it, and the death and destruction that follow. As the British military are quickly overwhelmed by massive machines equipped with heat rays that kill on impact. While stuck in a house thanks to a different cylinder's landing, he's able to observe the creatures, who appear to have no body or means of digesting nutrition, instead draining humans of their blood and injecting it directly into themselves. The Martians begin collecting humans like livestock as they terraform the planet with a red vine of some sort, and after completely decimating London, all hope looks lost, until the Martians are eventually stopped not by man, but by the invisible bacteria they had never developed immunity to. They had no concept of microorganisms, so their campaign of death and destruction was their eventual downfall, quickly spreading disease throughout their ranks. The story has been adapted numerous times, each putting their own spin on the same idea and themes, and each with differing levels of critical and commercial success. One of the earliest adaptations was a 1938 radio drama, a Halloween episode of the Mercury Theater on air. The show started as a normal broadcast, playing live music, before being interrupted by breaking news broadcasts about explosions on the surface of Mars, followed by a report of a meteor in the shape of a cylinder landing in New Jersey and causing a panic. They then pretend reporters are on the chaotic scene, describing the cylinders unscrewing and Martians killing everyone with a heat ray, before the transmission goes dead. This style of broadcast continued until the complete collapse of New York, and as you can imagine, it caused quite a bit of panic, and before you knew it, police were busting into the studio to try to shut it down. The book was also adapted into a movie in 1953, which is actually still a pretty fun watch to this day. It makes quite a few changes to the story to appeal to the audience it was made for, like changing the location from Britain to California and adding a love interest who screams every 5 seconds. There's also changes made based on the technology of the time, such as planes, which were invented in 1903, nullifying the awe of a Martian flying device spelling doom in the original story. The atom bomb is also used as America's last shot, which fails, but the Martians still succumb to earthly pathogens at the last minute, like in the book. There's also a TV show in the 80s that continued the 1953 story, retconning the ending, so that the aliens entered suspended animation instead of outright dying. Their bodies were stored away in drums, and everyone is just convinced themselves the invasion never really happened. Sounds pretty bad, but it's nowhere near the worst adaptation of the classic sci-fi story. 2005 gave us my favorite adaptation, directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Tom Cruise. The setting is moved to New York, and the arrival is changed from cylindrical meteors to lightning strikes that teleport the aliens into the tripods, which were buried on Earth long ago. It also completely changes the Martians to look more like our modern idea of aliens and less like squids. A few characters from the book are rolled together together, like the delusional artilleryman and the weak-willed curate, becoming a single delusional and weak-willed ambulance driver, who the protagonist initially believes wants to offer them safety, but in reality he has idiotic ideas about fighting the Martians together, which he immediately gives up on after learning the aliens are sucking the blood out of people to use as fertilizer for their new flora. Because of how licensing works in the USA, anything written before copyright law was modernized is generally considered free game, as long as it's only released domestically, which is why there are two direct-to-DVD mockbuster films also released in 2005 by the same name, from Pendragon Pictures and The Asylum. Notoriously, Pendragon's came out a week before the Tom Cruise movie, while The Asylum's version came out a single day before, and both are of dubious quality. But unfortunately for the War of the Worlds, H.G. Wells died in the year 1946. This means in the year of our Lord 2016, War of the Worlds went into public domain, which includes international markets, allowing any dumbass with a camera to now make a movie based off the book. This has been detrimental to the classic work's name. In 2019, a British TV show using the name began running and made it 3 whole seasons. The production quality is okay, but the story has practically none of the hallmarks of the original. The alien invaders wipe everyone out who isn't underground in a single hit, and hunt down remaining humans with robot dogs. It's then revealed in the season 1 finale the invaders are actually humans who've traveled back in time to avoid extinction, or something. There are no Martians, there are no tripods, and there's no common cold that saves the Earth from its invaders. They literally just slapped the name onto a completely unrelated alien story because they knew it would probably sell better than if they just packaged it as an original story. Somehow, that isn't the worst adaptation though. 2021's Annihilation is an insanely bad low-budget film that follows a mother and son after the invasion begins. Okay, but at least there's tripods every once in a while. Wait, is that a mothership? Why are there Transformer-style robots? Did you just pick up a rifle from that thing's body? Is that a fucking human again? Oh my god, you guys do realize that fences aren't classified as covered against regular bullets, right? The movie ends with a similar reveal as the TV show. The aliens are not only humanoid, but they're actually humans from the faraway planet Earth. And the planet that we thought was Earth the entire movie is actually an alien planet similar to Earth, only with worse dialogue.
Dad's not coming home.
The good guys think they should all make peace by the end of the movie, while William Baldwin, brother of Alec Baldwin, decides to steal the mothership they somehow shot down with a handful of bad CGI missiles, take it back to Earth, and start attacking their planet. I knew this one was going to be ridiculous when I saw it was a Tubi original. What I wasn't prepared for was the fact they made a sequel in 2024, Extinction, which sort of retcons the ending of the first one, but William Baldwin is still on his way to Earth. After ignoring a ceasefire, and after his daughter is heat rayed to death, in 2023, another film unrelated to the last two came out, War of the Worlds: The Attack. Also extremely low production. There's pretty much no scenes where a tripod and human are physically interacting, and when anyone is ever grabbed by a tentacle, it looks hilariously bad. I really think they've fucked this guy on direction because he's getting grabbed, not electrocuted. But at least there are tripods. And the movie's story is a closer, if not cheesier, adaptation of the source material that follows 3 young adults instead of one nameless narrator. Characters like the crazy artilleryman are here, though his amount of crazy is definitely muted, and the curate is also here in the form of this crazy pasture.
There may come a time soon when the repopulation of the planet must begin. Only the great may give you their seed. As God's messenger, I shall be one.
What the hell? The movie also abruptly ends with the Martians being killed by bacteria, so points for that. Now, why did we need to spend 1,300 words discussing previous War of the Worlds movies? Because I hear this latest release is considered one of the worst movies ever. So you can imagine how skeptical I am after I've explained to you just how holy shit, it's a Screenlife.
Attack the who to what?
War of the Worlds 2025 is in fact one of the worst movies of all time, partly because it fits into a niche genre of movies called Screenlife, where the entire film takes place from the perspective of a computer screen. The self-imposed limitation was first successful with the 2014 film Unfriended, which follows a group of friends being haunted in a Skype call. I say it was successful because it grossed over 60 times its budget, but that's pretty easy to do when everyone is being filmed on a computer screen. A standalone sequel came out in 2018 called Unfriended Dark Web, which was meant to capitalize on normies' vague understanding of the word by that time. It also did pretty well considering. But there really haven't been many successful Screenlife movies because of how uninteresting it can be watching everything happen from a computer screen.
We have to do something, and we have to do it now.
Who's that?
So you're telling me not only do I have to sit through a big ad during a worldwide invasion, but I have to watch it through the perspective of a computer screen, all while Ice Cube reacts the same way my viewers do watching me play a horror game on stream?
Listen to me. Get out of there, now. You gotta go left, now. What are you doing outside? Get away from that. No. You gotta get up. Oh my God.
Before we dive in, these videos take a lot of time to make, but you can make it worth it by simply leaving a like and hyping the video. Now let's get into the internet's proclaimed worst movie of 2025. We begin with Ice Cube logging into his Windows 10 computer while a song called Keep Your Head Up plays, and learn his character's name is William Radford, but I'm just going to be calling him Ice Cube for the rest of the video. He works for the Department of Homeland Security as a domestic terror analyst and spies on people all day using a fictitious software called Guardian that gives him single-click access to any camera, microphone, or drone in the country. Does he have to track that car with his mouse to listen in? Bro, this guy could go pro with that kind of aim. Now, the first word that came to mind seeing this was technobabble. I have many skills. Skills I've acquired over a quarter century of ADHD. I'm proficient in a handful of programming languages, and I'm highly proficient in many versions of Windows. Partly because I've been using it since I was 9, and Minecraft mods used to actually take brainpower to get working. This movie is going to do a bunch of things that you cannot do on a computer, hoping the audience will be able to suspend disbelief. But tech literacy isn't what it was in the early 2000s. I'm sure you don't need to be as proficient in computers as me to notice a lot of problems with how tech is portrayed in films and TV around that time. But you can't pull an NCIS in modern day because no one is stupid enough to think two people typing on a single keyboard makes any sense. If it was just a scene or two, it might slide. However, the entire premise of our protagonist's job is extremely unbelievable. Terror analyst is a real job, but their duties don't consist of randomly checking cameras in DC. It's mostly paperwork and writing up reports about identified threats across public social media sites and keeping tabs on known problematic groups, but I'll only really be focusing on the insanely dumb stuff or we'd be here all day. Ice Cube pulls up a domestic terrorist watch list and focuses in on someone named Disruptor, before switching over to a woman named Faith. Next to her face, it says Georgetown University, Biomedical Research, and Mark Goodman, Baby Daddy, in green text. How and why it would display that specific info is never explained, and it's going to change in a bit to even stupider stuff when we learn who this woman is. Ice Cube then gets a Microsoft Teams call from Sandra, who has NASA in her contact name, so you know she's with NASA. From my research, I've been led to believe this isn't very common in the real world. The agencies have vastly different jobs with almost no overlap. Before answering, he pauses the current song playing on Spotify, the Keep Your Head Up song, which has been playing since the studio card before he logged into his computer, and Spotify was specifically shown not to be open when he started up Guardian. We can put that one in the nitpick department, but it really just feels like they wanted to show off Spotify right here, and or this song. Answering a video call, Sandra asks Ice Cube if he's seen anything about the tons of crazy storms happening all over the country. He says he only watches people, not storms, and Sandra explains that all NASA's satellites are blind and haven't been sending any readings for 2 days. We're gonna come back to this 2 days time frame later, but for now, what we know is there are crazy storms and NASA knows nothing about it. As I explained earlier, the storms were a Spielberg creation for his 2005 adaptation, and were only a means for the aliens to get into their pre-buried tripods. After they successfully teleported to their their machines, the lightning and storms stopped. We'll see if this movie does anything similar to that. Ice Cube tells her to keep him posted before getting a message from the director of the DHS, saying the FBI is on standby to raid the hacker known as Disruptor. This is at the same time Disruptor puts out a YouTube video announcing his plan to release classified documents, proving the surveillance industrial complex is using a top secret program called Goliath to collect Americans' personal data to use against them. Goliath is notably supposed to be something separate to what Ice Cube is using, but honestly, does it really matter when he is one click away from spying on anyone across the US? He clicks on Guardian to try to trace the video somehow, and it starts showing a bunch of random IPs around the city. He then views the page source, copies a random string from it, and plugs it into an IP tracker, which starts narrowing down the possible IPs. This is not how any of this works. An IP is a unique address that every router connected to the internet has, like a phone number that calls other phone numbers, which would be other web servers. Website domains are like contact names for a phone number, so instead of having to type in your mom's full phone number, you just type in mom. Instead of having to know Google's IP address, you just type in google.com. There are ways to track your IP and figure out where your address is based off of it, but that would require a government agency to subpoena the internet provider who assigned that IP to you. Otherwise, the best you can do is find the largest city near the person. The problem with this scene is that you can't just find my IP by looking at the source code of this YouTube video you're watching. YouTube 100% saves your IP when you upload a video, but that information isn't on the front end, nor is it on the creator back end. It is possible to get this info from YouTube, but the DHS can't just yoink it without first getting permission from a judge. Unless you're a foreigner, then they can just basically grab your balls with no oversight. The stupidity goes deeper, but we need to wait a little bit longer before we can get into it. While the IP tracker is running, Ice Cube gets a Guardian alert about a suspicious food purchase and moves back to watching Faith. We then see next to her name in red text that she's purchasing a pumpkin muffin, which is claimed to have 0 protein, and a soy latte, which has minimal calcium. It's then revealed this is Ice Cube's daughter, and he's spying on her to make sure she's eating right because of her pregnancy. He's even able to look directly into her fridge to see she's got almost no protein in there. Now that we're aware this is his daughter, we have to at least note how incredibly unprofessional it is for Ice Cube to be using advanced surveillance systems to spy on her every movement. It's also thrown in that she's a bio major before Guardian sends another alert about an online game purchase of $250. He then uses TeamViewer to remote into his son Dave's computer, as Faith hangs up to go do some lab stuff. Dave is playing some sort of space piloting game on Steam before Ice Cube straight up uninstalls it. This is all surprisingly accurate. My parents would have lost their shit if they caught me spending $250 on a video game. This guy got off easy. He gets a call from his son and they get into an argument about how much time he's wasting playing video games.
I'm a tech visionary in a pre-funding stage.
A tech to who to what?
I agree with Ice Cube here. This is a buzzword bullshit way of saying you have ideas but aren't doing anything with them. Ice Cube says he could easily get a job working at the NSA, but Dave has a very negative opinion about what his father does all day, while Ice Cube argues it's to protect people.
All I see is a kid with a $200,000 education living in my damn house playing dumbass video games. That's what I see.
You mean Mom's house?
What'd you say?
Come on, you haven't even cleaned out her stuff yet.
That's none of your damn business.
This is a complete derailment of the conversation. Some straight up debate lord shit. So this is to bring up the fact that their mother is dead, and Ice Cube hasn't fully moved on yet. Newsflash, you fucking dumbass. Who pays for the goddamn house? Your dead mother? You apparently have a $200,000 education and do nothing all day, so you immediately go to dead mom to get out of the situation. I hate this guy already. Just around this point in the argument, a Guardian alert comes in saying the IP tracker is done and has pinpointed the disruptor. He then sends the address over to an FBI agent to get a warrant before commandeering a drone that happens to be flying overhead, but is interrupted by a phone call from Faith's boyfriend Mark. The movie's walking product placement for Amazon. Mark is played by Devin Bostic, who I remember as the actor for Roderick in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie. He's called to ask if Ice Cube plans to come to their baby shower, even making this dope ass shirt for him, only to realize Ice Cube wasn't aware of the shower and wasn't supposed to know about it. He almost texts Faith to confront her about it before instead attempting to get into her MacBook using TeamViewer. She changed the password so we get more Hollywood hacking nonsense as he uses a simple terminal command to generate a master key to connect to any TeamViewer device. If you could already do this, why were you using her password in the first place instead of just using a master key? They then follow this complete nonsense with something that makes more sense, as he spies on her iMessage conversation with her boyfriend. They then ruin this by showing the shit she's typing on her phone in the text bar of the computer window. So close, guys, come on. Faith says her father will probably spy on her with a drone while he's actively spying on her, and the two have a conversation about how her dad doesn't trust her to live the life she's built. Mark says she's gonna save humanity one day before posting an article on Faith's research into more technobabble called Cannibal Code Reprogramming. Something about reprogramming DNA to kill sick cells. The closest thing we have to this in real life is stuff like CRISPR, but as far as I've found, there's nothing like what the movie describes in real life. Also, according to my buddy Rain, she's apparently holding this thing wrong. Faith then asks if her dad even accepted Mark's friend request on Facebook, and after he does, he sees the announcement for the baby shower is right on his page. Now I take issue with the idea that the control freak father who spies on everything his kids do ever would be unaware of his daughter having a baby shower. You're telling me this guy has cameras in her house and her fridge that he can access whenever he wants. He can see the food she's purchasing and remote into her computer at will, but he doesn't know she's been planning a baby shower. Because he opened Facebook, he begins getting push notifications about memories from 4 years ago. I'm currently banned from Facebook for refusing to give them my social security number, so I can't comment on the accuracy of this kind of notification. He clicks it and it takes him to his dead wife's page, where he leaves an I miss you message in her DMs, which fails to send because the mom is dead if you haven't figured that out yet. But this is not how sending DMs works. The messages don't just not send because she's not alive. They'd still make it to Facebook, they'd just be unopened. Isn't Facebook like boomer tech? I feel like they'd be able to not mess this up. He then plays an audio message sent before her death.
Remember to take out the trash today and be nice to the kids. I love you, baby.
Why do you have to be reminded to be nice to the kids the same way you're being reminded to take out the trash? Remember to pull the casserole out of the oven and try to remember not to beat the shit out of little Timmy today. By this time, the warrant has made its way back to Ice Cube and the FBI is ready to raid the Disruptor's apparent address. He sends the warrant to an agent Sheila Jeffries, who's headed to the apartment buildings. The two get in a call and ad director Briggs, played by Agent Coulson of Marvel fame. He just straight up says the Goliath program is real and they have to stop the Disruptor from releasing information about it. We get a scene of the FBI raiding the building through rifle-mounted cameras. But why does Jeffries have a camera pointed at her face? Oh my god. You guys remember the tack knife in Call of Duty? Well, get this, tack phone. Now this isn't complete bullshit because it's very common for SWAT teams to have cameras mounted on their helmets or guns. But a live feed like that going to a Microsoft Teams call? That part's a bit ridiculous. Not to mention, before the raid started, Ice Cube types into a command line, locate surveillance array, unlock security cams, and send security cams database to Guardian app. I don't want to get into the technical explanation of how command line syntax works, but the most basic part is you only have spaces in between the different pieces of the command you're putting in. Also, why would you need to tell it to send data to the Guardian app when you're already in the Guardian app typing the command? It's like mailing a package from your house to your house instead of ordering a package to your house. It just doesn't make sense. He then starts clicking on cameras, and one of them just has the glitching out image of Disruptor, like someone passed an OBS virtual cam into Discord or something. He's also able to see the exact spot in the building the Disruptor's computer is, which is not how that works, but whatever.
Oh shit. It's another one of his decoys. Clever little bastard.
So it wasn't him, it was instead a footstool with a laptop on it in a completely empty room. This also makes no sense, for many reasons. I'm sure many of you watching this have heard of what a VPN is. Virtual private networks allow you to run your traffic through a different IP address before making the call to a website. Just imagine it like hitting *67 before you dial a phone number to hide your caller ID. It's a basic way to protect your privacy online since your IP address is technically public and there are many ways is for people to get a hold of it. I use a VPN myself all the time to protect my privacy. This would be a really great time for an ad read, and an actual hacker would probably use that route before going around the city setting up laptops as decoys. Did Disruptor pay for that apartment? Because your information would then be easily obtainable by the authorities. That router is connected to an internet service provider who would quickly be able to send in information on who signed up for it. At the very least, he hacked into the cameras in this apartment building, so could he not just go back into the security footage to find when Disruptor set up this decoy? It just goes to show how technologically inept the writers were on a movie that's plot relies heavily on technology and data. Now here's where we get to the turning point of the movie. So far, it could practically be about anything, because we've gotten nothing more than a couple looks at some storms, but now is when the invasion starts. First with meteors crashing down into buildings. Ice Cube gets tons of alerts across the country, and we get multiple shots of these meteors. He then begins calling his kids while more notifications come in. A Fox News reporter has a meteor land behind her, and a plane is hit by one, causing the Discord deafen sound to play for some reason. He then goes to YouTube and sees it's happening all over the world. Sandra sends him a video message saying she's headed to one of the crash sites and that one of the meteors is landing near the DHS headquarters. Before we get a shot of it, and the building starts shaking. There are 3 jump cuts here, and in one of them they decide to just turn off the computer's screen effect altogether. They then switch to a completely different camera with completely different lighting, before they slowly put the computer effect back over the camera. They also do this incorrectly from a video editing perspective as well. Look how the border comes into frame and begins obscuring parts of the background. That's because it's being haphazardly thrown atop the camera of Ice Cube. Think of it like taking an empty picture frame and slowly moving it away from your face, versus moving a framed picture away from your face. You're not changing the amount of picture showing because you're simply moving it further from you. That's how a properly edited version of the shot would look. Ice Cube tries calling and texting his daughter with the messages failing to send. That should imply she's dead because what we established earlier with the dead wife messages, but no, that would be some form of consistency. She's alive and hiding under her lab desk, and Ice Cube quickly messages her boyfriend to get over to her ASAP. This segment has some of the worst editing in the entire movie, for practically no reason. They reused the same 2-second clip of Ice Cube 6 times in a row. Through the magic of editing, I can show you all of them side by side, and it looks horrendous. The gals I watched this movie with were convinced this close-up of his beard was the same loop as well, and I was skeptical. But they were right. It's the same exact clip. I can line it up with the others perfectly. During all of this, he's been messaged multiple times to get on an emergency Zoom call by director Briggs. Dave finally picks up the phone as he runs through the city, meteors falling around him. This is the movie's first real action scene, and I use quotes because it's more like an anti-action scene. And the computer perspective doesn't let us experience any actual emotions like worry or fear. We are watching this kid run through the streets, hardly able to see anything as his dad is yelling at him to get out of there. Compare this to an action scene from the 2005 film. Tom Cruise running for his life, people getting blasted into dust all around him. Stuff like this can also be done in multiple takes and look fine, because continuity can be slightly changed between different camera angles and the viewer doesn't notice. With handheld footage, you need to hide cuts and editing really well, or else you're left with a jarring experience to sit through. You don't even need to get it all in one take, as long as you cut away to Ice Cube or something on the computer, which the movie does a lot. Yet somehow they still have terrible jump cuts during these supposed action scenes. And then we end on this stupid freeze frame with a dramatic sound in the background. This is presumably the movie's interpretation of the noises a tripod makes, which were originally characterized by H.G. Wells as a mechanical wailing, but we've yet to see anything besides meteors falling to this point. Dave's call drops as Ice Cube tracks his phone position using Guardian. He finally sees it start moving again and takes a breath, knowing that his son is still alive, before joining the emergency Zoom call, which includes a new face, the Secretary of Defense, who says the president and all top staff are safe before focusing in in on Sandra at the crash site of the meteor. Her signal drops while describing the object as nothing she's ever seen, and we get more technobabble about rerouting her cell phone through a drone overhead. With her feedback up, she describes the meteor as extremely cold. This is another Spielberg adaptation the movie is using, since the source material described the crash-landed cylinders to be as hot as a blast furnace. Very quickly, a tentacle crawls out of the crack in the meteor, and the feed cuts out. Ice Cube attempts to call Faith again, as the agency directors plan to call for a state of emergency and mobilize troops to the crash sites. Ice Cube calls Agent Jeffries, who's currently running through the streets after the attempted raid on Disruptor. She then asks the random domestic terrorist analyst what the rules of engagement are for this situation. And then we finally get our first good look at this adaptation's take on the tripod. It's honestly not the worst we've seen. Definitely giving Sam Hayden from the Doom reboot. We get a couple of aerial shots of the tripod as Jeffrey cowers behind a car. Dave calls back, so he puts Jeffrey aside and answers, telling him he needs to get to his sister ASAP. He says he spoke to her and she's safely waiting for Mark, but needs to tell Ice Cube about something important. Dave claims to have info about what's going on with the meteors, but Ice Cube doesn't care to listen and tells him to just stay sheltered at the house, as he asks for air support on Jeffrey's location. The tripod then whips out its heat ray against very poorly CGI'd helicopters, before moving on to shooting random people on the street, including Jeffries, who's killed off, as Ice Cube shows the same amount of emotional acting as me listening to a Valley girl explain how bad plastic straws are for the environment.
Oh my God.
He's then given the task to locate all the tripods and collect information on them. He does this by pausing a live video feed of one, clicking on it, and telling Guardian to download its metadata. This somehow pulls info like exact location, speed, how much it weighs. Totally makes sense. We then get a montage of tripods attacking different infrastructure and military installations. While Ice Cube compiles this info into a report, he gets a call back from Faith. She's decided to venture outside, and we get another anti-action scene of her spotting a tripod as Ice Cube tells her to run, before another attack helicopter is shot down by its heat ray, crashing into her. When she drops her phone, we're unaware of her status, until Ice Cube pulls up a heart monitoring software, letting us know she's alive. It's pretty anticlimactic for him to just see Dave's face on the map start moving again, or checking a heart monitoring app, but there's only so much they could do with the Screenlife to make it more interesting than looking into the camera again to reveal you're still alive. She picks up her phone and reveals she's been skewered in the thigh by debris from the crash. I really hope she doesn't do something stupid like try to pull it out. Also, is that a rebar? She got hit by a helicopter. How the hell did she get skewered by rebar? Ice Cube tries to call 911, but the lines are obviously busy, before he tries to leave the building to get her himself. Oh my god, are we done with the Screenlife film? Do we get to go into the out now? Dude, that's a glass door. Please just break it. Free me from my suffering. He tries to unlock the doors while Faith ties her leg up, and he eventually gets out of his office, but the entire building is locked down, due to the country being at DEFCON 1, which is the government's oh shit meter, used to measure how turbo-fucked the country is relating to a nuclear conflict. DEFCON 1 being the worst level out of 5. Also, now is when I want to mention, there doesn't appear to be anyone else in the entire DHS building. No one else in his office, despite there being multiple computers behind him. We never see anyone else but him as the lone employee working at this very large government facility. He heads back to the computer and hacks into a Tesla near Faith. An attempt is made at a dramatic scene where this injured pregnant lady is limping towards the car as a tripod gets closer. She gets in the car and Ice Cube is able to set the autopilot just in time to escape before the tripod tramples her. All the hospitals are full in the area, so he plans to get her to a DHS field office instead.
I don't blame you for not wanting me at your shower.
Now? We have to do this now?
That's what I'm saying. He keeps going too.
No, I'm serious. I put you and your brother through a lot of pain.
You know what your problem is? You think you have more power than you really do.
Are you kidding me? He just hacked a car for you. He can hack computers, cameras, commandeer drones, and even hit the like and subscribe button on this YouTube video for you. While in the real world, only you have the power to do that, so make sure you do not forget. This really is the worst time to have family drama. She's actively bleeding out in the car, telling her dad he needs to stop being so nosy, feeling like he can keep everyone safe, including their mom, who we learned died from a disease. In the 2005 Spielberg movie, there was family drama established at the beginning of the movie, Tom Cruise being the absentee parent who gets his kids every once in a while, and after the invasion, there's tension between him and his rebellious son, while he's also shown to not know basic information about his daughter. These things happen during quiet moments during their escape though, or came to a head during crossroad moments. But this woman is actively still in danger, and they're talking about their relationship dynamics. He then just straight up hangs up on his bleeding daughter, telling her she needs to save battery life. The Tesla is also going to die in 2 miles, so he hacks into a non-existent battery saver mode, disabling the onboard cameras and giving the car an extra 19 miles. But I need to point out none of it mattered anyways, because before we learn all this, the car says their destination is a single mile away.
Your destination is 1 mile away.
So she'd still have gotten there anyways if he didn't do this. It's made even worse when you do the math, starting from the point the movie tells us her destination is a mile away. The car is going 40 miles an hour, so it should take around 90 seconds for her to arrive. But 90 seconds later is when he notices the car battery is low. She should have arrived by the time their conversation ended. Next, we have tons of useless things happen in a row, and I'm going to explain why each is useless and only meant to increase the runtime of the movie to an hour and a half. Ice Cube tries to hack another drone so he can watch Faith's Tesla without wasting battery with the onboard cameras. For this specific drone, the Guardian software needs higher permissions, so he contacts DHS tech support and just asks them for a level 5 password. He can hack random Teslas and any camera in the country, but the 10th drone of the day is where they draw the line. He then hacks into Mark's Amazon van and starts talking to him through the speakers, telling him Faith is injured and to hurry up, before telling her to location share for him. None of this was really necessary. He could have just texted Mark again to look for her location data, and it's not like y'all gave him enough direction to accurately respond to being told his pregnant girlfriend is bleeding out.
Faith is losing blood, and you get your skinny ass over there, now!
I'm on my way to her right now.
That's it?
Ice Cube then begins contemplating life, the universe, and everything, before starting to write an email to Faith in case he dies. But this motherfucker isn't the one in danger right now. You are securely locked inside the DHS building. You can't leave if you wanted to, while your daughter is bleeding out in a Tesla, driving through the destruction of invading tripods. Sandra is then revealed to be alive, but it's never explained how. She was next to a meteor that presumably opened into a tripod, and we've seen they're perfectly happy to kill random humans. We then learn that NASA satellites were directly targeted to prevent warning of the meteors, and that the storms were caused by them entering the atmosphere. Many issues here. First, we have footage of the satellites getting hit, which wouldn't be possible if they were destroyed to prevent warning. Second, we were told the satellites had been down for 2 days, and in this period, the storm started. This would mean the meteors were flying around in the atmosphere for 2 days, when in real life, it only takes one a couple minutes to hit the ground. Third, it's never explained how the meteors caused the storms. If it was due to natural effects from them heating up the atmosphere or something, that would imply they were falling at high speeds, but we're instead led to believe they all just sorta hovered in the sky for 2 days. Ice Cube gets a call from the DHS in POTUS, and we have to sit through a recap of all the shit we've learned in the last 15 minutes, probably just to pad the runtime further. He explains the tripod's attack patterns and suggests they move troops to power grids and nuclear facilities, before the invaders have time to group up.
I see no other option to initiate this war of the worlds to save us all.
There it is! There it is!
We get a montage of militaries getting ready as a newscaster explains the world is setting aside its differences to fight a bigger threat. Ice Cube types in war map and suddenly gets a live feed of all the units deployed and all the hostiles taken down. It's really stupid and far less interesting than just showing us combat with the tripods. He's then able to hover different dots on the map to get live footage of what's going on, including footage from Poland and Moscow. In the Polish footage, it's perfectly bright out, and in the Russian footage, it's so dark the camera is in night vision mode, even though these two areas have a single hour difference in their time zones. If I'm being as charitable as possible, maybe it's not possible to film tanks in Russia right now because of that whole thing going on where they're invading another country. If that was the case though, just hover something else that isn't Moscow. This montage goes on for about 2.5 minutes and is meant to show the war effort is working pretty well, which is in complete contrast to practically every other adaptation of War of the Worlds, because one of the biggest themes in the novel was humanity humanity's utter helplessness against a more technologically superior threat. Derivative works have been made that touch more on these themes of human resilience and ingenuity, like the 1996 film Independence Day, but it's never really been the case that humans had the invading threat handled when adapting H.G. Wells. Faith arrives at wherever the fuck she was being taken to. She immediately begins trying to do that thing you're not supposed to do when you've got a big ass metal rod in your leg, and Ice Cube tells her to just wait. He calls Mark to see where he's at, and for some unexplained reason, he's now gotten out of his Amazon van and is running on foot, as an obvious voiceover plays because his mouth isn't moving at all.
You call me as soon as you get there, okay?
I will. Oh, I'm cramping up.
Ice Cube then gets a video from Sandra showing the tripods changing directions, before making the loud noise again. The CGI on this tripod also looks absolutely terrible. The tracking alone is just completely busted when the camera first flips. Look how the tripod's right leg starts in front of this median before the whole thing rotates to the location it should have been to begin with, in front of this overpass. If you think that's bad, look at the left leg. Where is this even supposed to be? Because this truck is underneath and the leg is in front of it, but an entire portion of it phases through the overpass. The camera angle is also the same before and after Sandra allegedly flips it. You can literally see the overpass in the building behind her, meaning the tripod should be right there when it's wailing. Ice Cube out of nowhere asserts out loud, every time they make that sound, they change directions. Like that was ever established in the last 40 minutes. This is like if I caught a dog shitting on the floor before running off, then from that information, assume a dog needs to shit on the floor if it wants to run away from someone. These things have not at all been proven to be related. Also, is this implying they're using some sort of echolocation? If so, what are they locating? This question is answered seconds later when he hits a button to show sensitive government targets. The tripod appears to be heading towards a government data center, so Ice Cube pulls up live feeds of data centers around the world, because apparently he can do that too. He sees the tripods have all started approaching them as well, sticking some sort of tentacle inside. Another call comes in from Dave, who tries to explain to him that the government has a surveillance network that's 1,000 times stronger than what he's aware of, called Goliath. Again, I really don't know how much stronger it can get when this guy can straight up hack into drones and cell phones at will. But sure, whatever. Ice Cube says it's all fake news, even after he's directly been in a call with the head of the DHS, saying the files on Goliath were real.
This so-called disruptor is trying to reveal a top-secret program called Goliath, and that file must not go out.
He then gets a call from Sandra, who he asked to follow the tripod, because for some reason she's just completely immune and invisible to tripods. She reveals it's been shot down by a missile, but is still alive and has stuck some sort of tentacle in the building. She goes into the server rooms and finds some biomechanical tentacles covering everything. Yet another random thing that Ice Cube can do is pull up visuals of the server racks, showing they're all being drained of data.
Sandra, get out of there!
Oh my god! Oh.
What are you swiping off of you, bro? They didn't even try to put an effect on her. We see some sort of glowing blue bug crawl on her phone before the call cuts out, and upon the server room being completely drained, Guardian alerts Ice Cube to the military systems being breached all around the world. We now start a montage of the world's combined militaries falling victim to a cyber attack, while Guardian is able to pull up a visual representation of each military wing's data being drained. This jet spinning out looks really stupid. You could probably recreate it in Gmod or something. The data draining plot in this movie is a replacement for the Martians harvesting humans of their blood. And we at no point see any signs of the unspecified invading forces attempting to terraform the planet with their own flora, or capture any humans to use as livestock. If we wanted to put on our media literacy caps for a second, we could interpret this as commentary on how information is the new lifeblood of our society. But it still doesn't make any sense that taking out all the data somehow destroys the army's equipment. The drain isn't characterized as some sort of EMP, nor would the destruction of a data center collapse the entire military. Tanks and planes aren't part of some hive mind controlled by a mothership like the droids in Star Wars. Nevertheless, the militaries now have to switch to hand-to-hand combat because the aliens stole their precious data. Ice Cube gets a call from Sandra at the same time he gets a call from Mark. He answers Mark first, but she did the stupid shit you're never supposed to do when you have a big ass beam sticking out your leg. Personally, I'd be starting the eulogy right there. There is no shot you're fixing that. In this other DHS building that's for some reason empty. Mark then pulls out packing tape, planning to use it to stop the bleeding.
You gotta get something else, man. You need a tourniquet.
Trust me. I'm a pro.
All I'm seeing is a professional dumbass.
Oh yeah, you're bleeding out. Oh my gosh, you're bleeding!
So cold.
It's because it was in the fridge.
I don't think we should have put it in the fridge.
Oh yeah, gotta bleed out a little.
Oh
Make
gosh,
sure the.
please don't touch my sock. I would be so devastated.
Is it sticking to the tape more than your leg?
Yeah, that's why I don't think the tape is gonna work.
Here we go. Is it working? Oh, it's sliding. Okay, does it slide? Oh yeah, that might not hold the bleeding.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Oh, look at it go. You spin me right round, baby.
As you can see by my super advanced recreation, this would not work. Do not try this at home. I'm a pro. Because this movie is stupid, it does work, and if we put that media literacy cap on once more, this is probably supposed to be a point where Ice Cube's character is shown that other people have the power to keep his children safe as they grow up, and that his overbearing DHS attitude is not the play. He then picks up Sandra's call, and she shows him what was supposed to be wriggling around in her clothes if the CGI team hadn't gone out for lunch. Looks like they're still on break because wow, these look really bad. Sandra says there's some sort of intelligent bug that eats data. The more they eat, the smarter they get. And the two now assume the attacks are a diversion to get the tripods to the data centers so the aliens can absorb them. This is when tons of news reports start coming in saying the aliens have stolen all the data of the world. And we need to go piece by piece because none of it makes sense and shows not a single ounce of research went into writing any of this. Before I start, I need to specify that I'm going to be completely ignoring the fact that none of the data centers here are related and or stored in the same place. My public Minecraft server is not going to get drained unless the aliens personally suck off the computer it's running on. The aliens would need to go to each specific location to steal the data, not just one building in each country, but we're just going to pretend it is one building. The first claim is that cargo ships are frozen at sea because they don't have any GPS data to navigate. GPS is real-time information sent from satellites controlled by Space Force. GPS receivers directly ping these satellites to get your exact longitude, latitude, and altitude. The data isn't stored like a video on your phone, it's practically streamed to your phone like a FaceTime call. Earlier, it was claimed the meteors were directly targeting satellites to prevent any early warnings of the attack, but GPS would still need to be working until this point, otherwise how would Ice Cube be collecting precise location data on all the shit he's been hacking? Cargo ships also don't rely solely on GPS to navigate, and have multiple fallbacks, including requirements by international law for all large ships to carry updated paper charts and magnetic compasses to navigate. Next is oil rigs combusting. No more information is given into why, but they're not shown to be attacked by tripods, so it's presumably because the data is missing. An oil rig isn't just going to explode because someone wiped some computers. There are also a shit ton of physical failsafes to prevent an oil rig from exploding, and none of those would be affected because someone wiped previous data. Next is planes being grounded by the FAA, but the ones still in the air are just falling out of the sky now because they can't navigate. This is also bullshit. A plane doesn't need GPS to stay airborne. It wouldn't just fall out of the sky like this. They even have inertial navigation systems that keep track of their current position based on their last known GPS signal. Next is nuclear power plants not being able to generate electricity anymore, but deleting data from a nuclear power plant wouldn't at all affect its ability to run. Think of it this way, I have a program I can use to monitor the temperature of different parts of my computer. This physical graph is the log data of the temperature. If I close the program, all that data is lost. And when I open the software back up again, it starts logging data from that point until it closes again. The previous data of a nuclear power plant is less important than monitoring the real-time data. Who cares if logs about power output from 6 years ago got eaten by an alien? Again, it's not like everything is being hit with an electromagnetic pulse. The last thing this montage sets up is the fact the entire world's financial system has been wiped clean, bankrupting everybody. Of all the bullshit being spouted, this is probably the most believable. Theoretically, if you wiped all the servers and all the backup servers hosting the world's financial data, we would in fact be fucked. But I need you to remember this very, very important point. The only reasonably achievable effect out of everything listed is that all digital money is gone. And again, this is ignoring the fact fact, there is no mother of all data centers in the middle of the USA that could cause all of these things to fail at once. With the world's data successfully yoinked, the world's population goes into panic mode, and everyone starts looting resources. Ice Cube then gets a notification from Facebook saying his memories are being deleted. The screen glitches out as all the images on his wife's account are deleted. I just think this effect is hilarious. It's definitely just there because they thought the audience needed a more visual, interesting thing to look at. Ice Cube then starts listening to the message left by his wife, which distorts into gibberish before disappearing.
Remember to take out the trash
today and be nice to the kids.
Then all of Facebook goes down. Obviously the voice message wouldn't distort before deleting itself, but the other problem is the entirety of Facebook going down. I know it was for dramatic effect, but remember when I was explaining that they didn't just EMP the servers? They sucked the data out of them. But what counts as data? If I had Steam games on my Windows PC and an alien sucked my data out, would I only lose my game saves? Or if it goes deeper, would I need to reinstall the game, Steam itself, or the entire Windows operating system? For all of Facebook to go down, the answer would need to be either 2 or 3, because the operating system on the server would still need to be there for a 404 response, but the programs and data telling the website how to send and receive web page requests is gone. If the data drain has taken all of Facebook down, why hasn't it taken every other website down? Like 2 seconds later, YouTube is working just fine. As Ice Cube watches a new Disruptor livestream, he explains the invasion is due to the Goliath program collecting massive amounts of data to spy on the world. Disruptor claims the government knew this would happen and activated Goliath anyways, and that if the aliens got a hold of it, it'll be the end of the world. Like it isn't already. Ice Cube then takes his glasses off, as if he's had an epiphany. He then takes the Disruptor video and inserts it into a vocal decryption feature of Guardian. Now this is only half bullshit. Reversing voice filters is a real thing, and I've actually done it before in a video I made back in 2021, where the twist ended up being the guy everyone thought was a child groomer was actually a lying kid who I caught by reversing his voice filters. If someone's using something simple like pitch shifting to change their voice, it's pretty easy to reverse. Why Disruptor wouldn't use a generated voice to conceal his identity is a mystery, but the bigger mystery is why no one has tried to do this yet. Why did it take an alien invasion and the collapse of society for you to think to unscramble the hacker's voice with a tool you had the entire time? This is where we get the big reveal that Ice Cube's son Dave is the hacker known as Disruptor. Now's when I need to point out the son's name is David, and the big bad surveillance system he's trying to take down is called Goliath. Like from the Bible? Someone really thought they were cooking with that one. He confronts his son and the conversation doesn't go well. Dave asking his dad to work with him to try and stop the invasion, but he instead hangs up. Dave sends him all the DHS files he's hacked, saying it's time for him to learn the truth. We get a big dramatic scene that reveals the government has known about these aliens since the 1940s. I just hate Ice Cube's performance here.
Violent weather, strange craft sightings.
Because we're in a Screenlife, they felt the need to read off the portions of the text that matter since they have to show a shit ton all at once. Some sort of unidentified flying object showed up after the creation of a data collection program, and they even knew about the bugs that thrived on data. Next, he reads information on Goliath.
Dave was right. They lied to me the whole time.
No, they didn't. He literally said the files on Goliath were real and needed to stay hidden. Apparently the government somehow was aware that a program like Goliath would be collecting so much data it would just cause an alien invasion. So they told director Briggs to shut it down, but he instead went rogue, and it's been running in the basement servers of the same DHS building Ice Cube has been working from. One of the most glaring issues with this backstory is the difference in how much digital data existed in the 1940s versus now. We're talking maximum a couple megabytes. This single YouTube video you're watching right now probably has more data in it than the entire world did until after the 1960s. So we're supposed to believe that the collective data, equaling probably a couple hundredths of a gigabyte, was enough to cause the aliens to show up in the first place. But when we were multiplying that by a billion, it still wasn't enough for them to invade the planet. Ice Cube calls Briggs to confront him about Goliath and the fact he risked an invasion of Earth just to spy on people's Amazon purchases, language his son was using at the beginning of the movie.
NASA warned you if you activated Goliath, it could spark an invasion.
Those dinosaur bureaucrats don't keep us safe. I do.
This is like evil villain levels of bullshit that makes no sense. Briggs says he kept everyone safe and air-gapped the Goliath system to prevent the aliens from reaching it. He means something along the lines of, it's not connected to the single data server that's collapsed the country. Ice Cube says he didn't sign up for this and plans to stop it, and Briggs immediately fires him, shutting off his computer's access to the internet altogether. This is actually not the most inaccurate thing and is possible. A lot of companies require you to log into a proxy server, which you can think of like a VPN, and unless you log into their proxy, the computer they supplied to you won't really work. Then we get more bullshit about how he gets a notification about an external breach of Guardian because Disruptor has hacked in. Kill me. Dave hacks into the DHS servers and gives his dad access back as the two team up to stop the aliens. They start brainstorming ideas, and the first is to starve them out by flooding the servers until they crash. A DDoS attack. DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Service Attack, a real-life strategy to knock a server offline by using a massive network of bots to make the same request over and over again until the server's transport layer is overloaded and real data can't make it in. This one makes sense to do because, like we had to ask earlier, what counts as data? Does the same image count as data again if it's already been eaten once? Or does the data have to be unique to count as new food? If not, then sending a shit ton of data to them would just feed them more, because a DDoS doesn't necessarily make a server shut down, it just overwhelms it to the point it looks like it's down, which wouldn't matter to the bugs eating the data in the server. Ice Cube hand waves the idea without going much into detail, and instead says they need to poison the food supply, using what's called a rabbit virus. Rabbit programs are a real thing, and the idea is they self-replicate uncontrollably, each time eating up more and more system resources, until the entire computer crashes. Their plan is to get these self-replicating viruses into all the data centers, where I'm assuming it'll then enter the tripods and they'll shut down. We must suspend disbelief that our software code wouldn't work on the tripods, but they're literally planning on pulling an Independence Day. The two say they can't write the virus alone, so Dave brings in his fellow disruptors who say they want total immunity for helping. Though, why would they need immunity when they're still anonymous? Ice Cube also gets access to the disruptors' YouTube channel while the rest of the team works to hack into the world's data centers. In less than 20 minutes, he has a full-ass, highly edited YouTube video ready and uploaded, exposing the government's Goliath program and outing Briggs as the cause of the invasion. As a video editor, this is the part I have the biggest gripe with. You're telling me this old-ass DHS motherfucker can make this video, including After Effects audio visualizers and stupid-looking photoshopped images of himself, in 15 minutes? Where did he get the boom sound effects? I'm crashing the fuck out, bro. I consider myself a pretty good editor, if not ADHD as hell, but this is highly unrealistic and should have taken him at least a few hours. He's also not been shown to have any editing software on his PC, so unless he used Windows Clipchamp or whatever, he doesn't have any way to make a video this fast. This is all before mentioning he just outed himself as helping an illegal hacking group because he just had to stick his face on the anonymous hacker's YouTube channel to take credit. Really smart move there, guy. The virus is ready and sent to Ice Cube, who uploads it onto the world's databases, which causes all the tripods attached to them to start freaking out until Ice Cube gets a warning that the upload is frozen, and the source is being traced. It's supposed to be a rabbit virus, and it's already affecting the tripods. It should be multiplying uncontrollably at this point, and the movie should be over 30 minutes sooner. But somehow the tripods begin hacking every member of Disruptor. Even though they weren't the source of the virus, Ice Cube was, they begin draining the hackers' data, which will apparently lead them to Goliath. If I'm being as fair as possible, perhaps the aliens noticed the hackers getting into the data centers while Ice Cube was making the YouTube video. The tripods then disconnect their heads from their legs and start flying around attacking people. What the fuck? I'm sure you understand how inconsistent the movie is by this point, but one of the most consistent things we've seen is that the tripods are large, strong, and slow. Except that one time when one was cranking 90s like it was Fortnite, but they could detach detach from their slow ass legs the entire time? Why didn't they just do that in the first place? It would have been way more effective in every way. The alien drones then start targeting the hacker group, having traced their IPs, and somehow changed which camera their video call was using, just in time to watch all of them get blown up. The aliens also found Dave at Ice Cube's house, blowing him up as well. Ice Cube tries to call his son, whose signal has been dropped off the map. Pulling up drone footage, the entire house is blown to bits, and a news report spells out that no one could have survived the attack, only for Dave to call 2 seconds later and reveal he's fine. He's actually at his friend's house and has been using a green screen to look like he's at home, while bouncing his signal to their house. The signal dropping instead of disconnecting from call was already dumb, but if Dave wasn't being attacked, why did his signal drop out? Why did he step out of frame right when it happened? What should have actually happened was the house gets blown up and he just sits there staring, because he's not in the house. Also, are you telling me this motherfucker was bouncing his signal like a VPN to his dad's house? So think like the laptop on the stool, but at his dad's house, meaning that with the bullshit technology they've been using, when he traced an IP to find Disruptor, there's a chance it would have shown up at his house, completely blowing his cover and probably getting his dad and shit as well. It's unrealistic that he'd get this far without getting caught, considering how stupid he is. Same goes for all the other disruptors, who apparently didn't know what VPNs are either, as they raw dogged government servers without getting caught. Also, see how those monitors are off when he pulled down the green screen? It's because the shit on the screen is green, so the effect would have shown through. We then get a drawn out scene that's supposed to be funny, where Ice Cube focuses on the fact his house just blew up. If the movie wasn't so bad, I might have chuckled. Sandra calls back and explains what we're pretty much aware of by this point. The bugs are some kind of biological and cyber hybrid.
These things are alive. That means we can kill them.
No shit, the fuck did you think the missiles were doing? Their new plan is to use the research Faith was working on to kill the aliens biologically. The made up thing called Cannibal Code. Massive problem though. They immediately start talking about taking this code and uploading it to Goliath, so the aliens would eat the data and then become biologically ill? What are you talking about? Yo mama's so stupid she took the computer to the doctors when it had a virus is an actual plot point in this movie. Ice Cube generates a Zoom master key and hacks into a meeting with the Secretary of Defense. He shows up on camera and not a single person questions it or even acknowledges he's there. The government's plan is to bomb all of DC, especially the DHS, because that's where Goliath is stored, and they plan to bury it to prevent the invaders from getting to its data. Everything is already foobarred by this point. I really don't understand why the aliens reaching more data will do anything when they've already defeated the world's militaries, wiped the financial system clean, and everyone is looting and in a panic. And wait a second, why are stealth bombers able to work if all other jets just started falling out of the sky? And how are they tracking their location when GPS is down? The plot holes are just going to keep piling up. Ice Cube informs everyone they're out of time and that they need to manually input the code into Goliath.
The code you will be carrying is data. They're going to devour you along with it.
I'll be fine.
It has not been established at any point in this movie that he'd be devoured along with the data. Sandra was literally in the server room being sucked off and nothing happened to her. She took the bugs to do research on, and at this very moment is completely fine. Ice Cube dramatically says, "We're out of time," before going back to typing that goodbye message for Faith and Dave. Dave sends him the code and tells him to put it on a thumb drive.
I don't have a thumb drive.
What do you mean you don't have a thumb drive?
Even I have a thumb drive.
Everyone starts clowning him from not having a thumb drive, but he makes the most valid argument in the entire movie.
Boy, this is a top secret military installation. They don't let thumb drives in the building.
This is super believable. In fact, in the military, for instance, you can be arrested for simply plugging a charger into a government computer. So I can believe a thumb drive wouldn't be allowed into the DHS. And here we get to, by far, the stupidest part of the movie.
Prime Air. Oh, it's the future of delivery. They've been training us for months.
Where the fate of the world relies on Prime Air, Amazon's drone delivery service, flying the USB stick all the way to the DHS building. First, this is not a Prime Air drone. This is a Prime Air drone. They are massive. Second, why would a delivery driver have a Prime Air drone? His job is to deliver packages by truck. Third, Mark says Ice Cube needs to make a purchase to unlock the drone. Why would the drone unlock for a random delivery driver when the purchase needs to be fulfilled by a warehouse that has the purchased product in stock. Fourth, Ice Cube heads to Amazon.com to purchase the flash drive. But with what money? The financial system was in ruins according to what we were told earlier, and the entire planet has been bankrupted because of the data drain. So this shouldn't be possible. You can probably understand by this point why people think this was a giant ad for Amazon. We see a news report that B-2 bombers are headed to DC and establish they have exactly 10 minutes to complete their plan. Ice Cube gives everyone remote access to his PC, and they type into the Guardian search engine, "Track Will Radford," as it just begins following him on the cameras while he video calls from his cell phone. Reports then come in that tripods are attacking DC, all headed to the DHS building. But why don't they just detach again and quickly fly over? The best argument I could come up with is maybe they need the legs for data harvesting. Ice Cube asks for updates on the bomber's flight path, and they pull up live feed of them flying towards DC. How the hell do they have this camera angle of a B-2 bomber? The prime air drone has unlocked by this point, and Mark starts flying it past 2 tripods. He definitely hits this one, but it just despawns at the last second. The scene is played as super dramatic. Mark is like screaming for cover fire while they try and hack a drone. I have 5.1 surround audio, so I'm able to remove the music completely, and he just sounds like someone yelling at a video game with speakers on max volume and the apartment over.
Guys, I need some cover here. I got a boogie on my tail. A little help here, please. Don't worry, I got your back.
Dave starts piloting a drone and shoots down the flying tripods. So there are some in fly mode. Why do they at all care or notice a tiny drone flying through the sky? Mark's drone is then hit by one of the tentacles, and the flimsy piece of shit is somehow not completely destroyed after falling over 10 stories to the ground. It lands upside down next to a homeless person, and Faith texts him to flip it over, trying to bribe him with free internet for a year. Why? So the government can spy on me? Fabulous response. They then give him Amazon gift cards, which works, and he flips the drone over with another horrendous jump cut. By this point, the bombers are 5 minutes out, and Dave is out of missiles, so he uses the drone to kamikaze a tripod and give Mark an opening into the building. If you slow it down though, it's very obviously not the drone we've seen being slammed into the tripod. It looks like he tossed Kyogre from Pokemon Ruby at it or something. Mark begins losing signal the deeper he gets into the building, and by the time Ice Cube is getting close to Goliath, a tripod begins breaking in, and a tentacle grabs him through the floor. He kicks it and says, "Move, bitch, get out the way," which works. Also, why is it coming out of the floor? Aren't we super deep in this building? They'd at best be coming from the ceiling. Faith finally directs Ice Cube to the door Goliath is behind, and Mark makes it to him with the drone before the battery dies. By this point, the bombers are 2 minutes away, and the last step is to get the code to unlock the door, which requires Faith to look back in security footage. She finds the code, 111983, but he presses the second digit before she even had a chance to tell him what it was, and we don't see him type in the 9 or the 8 because the camera is transitioning. During this, we hear only 5 key presses, when there are 6 digits.
111983.
From an editing perspective, I just had to point this out. Finally, in the Goliath server rooms, Ice Cube steps over really bad looking tentacles to plug the USB in. A larger tentacle comes up behind him, not touching him at all, as he pretends to struggle and fall over. This is all very poorly rotoscoped, probably using the roto brush tool in Adobe After Effects. You can even see it fail for a second when he lifts his arm up, showing whatever the actual background is. And his hand just randomly disappears at one point. This is all while Ice Cube is looking directly into his phone screen. I would commit a war crime for the unedited footage from that phone. He plugs the USB in and all the cameras in the building go down. And after a moment of suspense, the code works and all the tripods around the world's data center shut down and die. The B-2 bombers somehow get word to abort their mission with 3 seconds left to spare, and the day is saved. We then fade to black before moving to Faith's computer screen, where she gets the cheesy email sent by her dad. There's a voiceover of Ice Cube, Faith, and Dave reading off parts of the letter, while we see news articles about how Faith's vaccine killed the aliens and the Goliath documents revealed the government was spying on citizens. The DHS director is arrested for violating the First and Fourth Amendment, and Sandra is confirmed as the head of NASA. Ice Cube is shown to have survived as he gets a call from the Secretary of State, who thanks him for his work and says the president wants him to come up with a new data collection protocol that doesn't invade people's personal privacy, which just sounds like an oxymoron to me. Ice Cube says there's more important things to do than worry about what's in people's Amazon carts, and that from now on, instead of watching regular people, he's gonna be watching the government before he hangs up the phone. We then get pictures showing he did go to the baby shower while wearing the absolute heat, and the movie ends. With that, we're finally done with the massive pile of crap known as War of the Worlds 2025. This was director Rich Lee's first film, but I'm really not sure how much he is to blame, since this guy, whose name I'm not going to even attempt to say, is credited with producing a number of Screenlife movies, including this one. According to Ice Cube himself, the entire movie was filmed in 2 weeks during the 2020 COVID lockdowns, which isn't really hard to believe considering the quality. But it's just more evidence this was another low-budget adaptation alongside Tubi originals and indie films. Truly, the concept was doomed from the jump, because there's just nothing interesting about watching an alien invasion that's canonically handled in little over 6 hours through a computer screen. We also never see any consequences of the invasion. In no previous adaptation does everything just go back to normal by the end of the movie. While stuff might turn out okay for our protagonists, it's very obvious the world has changed forever. But we're told the entire financial system collapsed and you're just going to a baby shower? Truly one of the most poorly thought out endings of all time. Thank you guys for making it to the end of the video, and let me know if there's any other films or TV shows you'd like me to break down. I know this one was way more technical, but that's just because the concept of the film left way less for the media literacy hat than it did for the tech literacy one. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.